Hey guys, what is going on? It is Monster Shark Gaming here. Welcome back to the channel. Now, I wanted to go ahead and give you guys like my thoughts on what I am, like how I would do career mode for EA Sports UFC 3. I guarantee it's not going to be anything like this. I guarantee EA is going to do a lot better this time around, considering if you guys did not watch my one of my previous videos talking about EA Sports UFC 3, that EA, one of the devs, Jazz, he confirmed to me that they brought in a new producer to specifically work on career mode, which Jazz is still working on career mode as well, just not as like the main guy. He's still in, like, I believe he's principal design of career mode, but they brought in a whole new guy to work on it, and he says, like, he's saying, like, yeah, it's going to be much better and all that, basically. So, with that being said, I'm just hoping it ends up being something like, it's not, just not the last two games, basically, career mode. Make it so that the rankings make sense. You don't start off at, like, rank number 60 in your weight class, which is absolutely absurd. Like, if you go 10-0 in the UFC, you damn well better be champion by that time. I mean, Max Holloway went through like a weird phase or whatever. Like, he just kept facing guys that weren't in title contention. I don't know why he was getting those fights. But like his not getting a title shot made sense, considering he never beat anybody that was worth counting, like, oh hey, you beat this guy, you deserve a title shot now. He never did that until he beat Pettis, because that was labeled as a interim title fight. So, but then you got guys like your career mode character, where you'll go like 12-0 or something like that, and it's because they don't let you fight top guys. They make you fight like shitty guys and everything. You start off at rank number 60 after winning the Ultimate Fighter, which is absolutely absurd. When you win the Ultimate Fighter, you should either be fighting somebody that's like the very bottom of number 15, like number 15 in the rankings, or somebody that's not ranked. And then if you win that fight, you should be fighting somebody in the top 15. That would make sense. But it's just, I don't know, like EA just simply couldn't get it down. I'm hoping. I'm gonna let you guys know how I would do career mode. So, how I would like it, it's something that I've discussed in streams before, and I'm pretty sure I've discussed it in videos, but I've definitely elaborated way more on it in streams, and people have agreed with me. People have also come up with this idea as well in the stream. They'll be like, hey, I want it like this way as well. So, how I would like it is, first of all, before I get into that, how does it make sense that you have no mixed martial arts experience, like you've never fought before, and then all of a sudden you're on the Ultimate Fighter? That's my only problem with you starting off the Ultimate Fighter, is that you've never fought before, and all of a sudden, boom, you're in the Ultimate Fighter. I think what would be cool is if they did something that they've never done in real life, and they just have a whole bunch of amateurs compete in their first ever like professional experience in the Ultimate Fighter. So let's say you start off career mode like this. You start off as an amateur in like a local promotion or something like that, and then Dana White's scouting, or somebody from the UFC is scouting, and they go ahead and see that you did really well in your second or third amateur fight. Like, you fight a couple times as an amateur, and it just so happens someone's scouting you from the UFC, and they like what you see. Just for this, I'm going to say it's Dana White, and they say, like, hey, we're going to do a new season of The Ultimate Fighter, and it just so happens to be in your weight class. And we want all guys that have never fought professionally before, all guys that are amateurs. How about you're in this? Or it doesn't even have to be that. It could also be something like you start off in a professional promotion, but it's as like a D-League, whether EA makes up a D-League that doesn't, like, straight up just doesn't exist, or they use Strikeforce or Pride or something, because UFC bought those guys out, so they should legally be able to use them as like a D League for the video game if they wanted to. That should be a thing. If for some reason not, then just make up one. I believe that's what they did for WFA. I don't believe that was a real thing for UFC Undisputed 3. And I believe they used that for 2010 as well. Like, it just wasn't a real thing. And then, say you get like a couple professional wins under your belt and they're like, hey, you know, maybe even, and they thought you did good enough. And they say like, hey, we want to bring you on to the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that. And, you know, that's when you go ahead and you do your show-up fight, and let's say you win. You win your show-up fight. It's like, all right, cool. And it's like the same. I like how they did the Ultimate Fighter in this game, though, is where the coaches go ahead and say, like, oh, I'm going to be looking for you. You're going to be number 3 in my spot. And they kind of give, like, a note on or whatever. I think that was pretty cool. I think something else that would be cool is that they give you more choices. That's something I say about, like, every wrestling game, every mixed martial arts game. I'd be like, I want choices. Choices, choices, choices. I want to be able to change the weight, go to whatever weight class I want at any time, as long as it makes sense. So, kind of like UFC Undisputed 3, except you can't do it at any time. It's like certain chances that you're able to change weight classes like that. So let's say you start off as middleweight, and you could be all like, oh, I've only competed once in UFC, and I want to change weight classes. Boom, done. Like, you should just be able to do that anytime you want. You can do it in real life. Why can't you do that in the game? You know, changing weight classes. So let's say you're a middleweight. You can either go to light heavyweight or welterweight. And I think there should be a cool, like, a weight cut feature. Depending on your guys' height and physique, it'll be a harder weight cut for certain weight classes. That's really getting into it. That's like getting really nitpicky. I mean, that's not like a big thing that I really care if it's in the game or not. I think that'd be really cool, but that's not something that's like, oh, this needs to be in the game. That kind of like weight cutting feature, and that'll like affect your performance. Like, oh, you had a terrible weight cut going down to welterweight when you're, you know, you're just coming off of being a middleweight and stuff, and you're like a really big middleweight already, so you're going to be dehydrated and you're going to take some negs. I think that'd be kind of cool. At the same time, it's something that, like, you never know with developers. They might fuck that up and make it so that that happens way too often, you know? Same with going up, like a weight class. Let's say like you come in, you weigh at 204, and it's like, oh, you take some negs because you're smaller, you're easier to knock out, you don't have as much power, stuff like that. So it could just be something, you know, cool to add into the game. But yeah, so like you win the Ultimate Fighter or you lose, whatever. I say have the feature where you could say where it lets you I'm sorry you go into the Ultimate Fighter. Let's say you win your the open fight to get into the house, you get picked on a team, and you go ahead and you win. Let's say you make it to the semifinals but you lose. Then the UFC offers you a contract still. Like, you have to live with that. UFC will offer you a contract and say, like, hey, you know what, we're going to give you a shot, though. We'll put you on the Ultimate Fighter finale card or something like that and show us what you got. But obviously you're not going to be in the finale because you didn't make it to the finale. But I think that would be pretty cool. And then same thing, if you make it to the finals and you lose, you know, the guy that loses in the finals always gets a contract as well. So still get a contract, just you're not going to be as famous, you're not going to be as well known, you're not going to be as hyped up or anything. It's like, oh, you're the guy that made it to the end and then lost it all. That's kind of going to be what it is. Or, you know, whatever, you win, you get the 6-figure contract. It really sucks with the Reebok deal because you can't do the sponsors. Because I think there's so much more you could do with the sponsors if it was a thing. But since it's not anymore, because fuck the shitty ass Reebok deal. Oh man, there's so much more you could have done with that, and I'm not even gonna elaborate on what you could do because there's no point considering there is a Reebok deal. Maybe I'll get into that eventually at some point when the Reebok deal expires, or if they don't renew it. Hopefully they don't renew the deal. They probably will though, considering it benefits Reebok and the UFC a lot, just not the fighters. So you get to the UFC. Let's say you win the Ultimate Fighter. You win the Ultimate Fighter, you get to the UFC, and the UFC gives you some options. They'll give you an option that says, hey, we're going to go ahead and give you an option to fight a guy that's ranked above you, and then a guy that's around your rank, or a guy that's ranked below you. I think that should be the 3, or hell, even give us 5 options. I think that'd be better, but like, you know, a decent amount above. And they won't always do that. At least in my, like how I want it to go. They won't always do that. They won't be like, oh, you just won the Ultimate Fighter. Here you go. Rank number 2 fighter. You get to fight next. No, nothing like that. So like when you win the Ultimate Fighter, I think you should only get 3 choices, where it's like you fight somebody that's above your weight class, like a couple, not weight class, above your rank a little bit, like maybe the number 15 guy. Could be an option. Or you could fight somebody that's not ranked, but is like, maybe he'll be ranked soon. You know, something like that. Like that's doing good, but he's not in the top 15. And then you could fight somebody that's like below you. That's like just some random can in the UFC. It's just some can that the UFC's like, yeah, you could probably beat the fuck out of this dude. But let's say you go ahead and you take the fight against the middle guy. You fight the middle guy that's not ranked, but he's like, if you had to go between 15 and 20, let's say he's like number 17 or so. Let's say you win that fight, and then your rank like number 16-ish or so. And then the UFC's all like, hey, you did really good in your fight or whatever. And I'd say it also depends on your performance on what fights you get. So if you go ahead and just wrestle fuck a guy and you do get a boring decision by wrestling him, you don't do much, the other guy doesn't do much, and you get by winning a decision just by doing nothing basically, the UFC's gonna kind of be all like, okay, you won, here's another fight, whatever. And you might get someone around the same rank again, maybe a tad higher just because you're getting a win. But you go in, let's say you go in, you beat the hell out of a dude, you land like 30 strikes in a minute, and you knock out the guy. UFC will be all like, hey, that was fucking awesome, you did amazing, you're definitely a higher tier than the guy that you just fought. How about we give you an even better fight? And that's when the 5 selections come in of people that you can face. The top guy that you can face, let's say after you win that fight, you're ranked number 16 still. You go up to rank number 16. You beat the rank 17 guy. Let's say you go to number 16 for whatever reason. Not going to get too into that. And you go ahead and see that your choices are the rank number 12 guy. Whoa, that's a decent jump there. You fight the rank number 12 guy, or you can fight the rank number 15 guy, or you can fight the rank number 17 guy, and then like just you see what I'm saying? Like there's guys that it just keeps progressively from the top of the list. It's the highest ranked guy that you can fight, and you know, before you fought that guy that's around your same rank, let's say you were number 18, he was number 17 at the time, and you got that crazy good knockout after landing what was it I said, 30 strikes in a minute, and you knocked him out. Yes, he said, hey, we're going to go ahead and offer you these fights, you choose. And then also you can call out people. That's something I want to get into in a little bit here, but so you get that crazy good knockout, and then you can choose to fight that number 12 guy. But you're ranked number 16 now after being number 18, beating number 17, after other guys fight and the rankings change and stuff. You go up to number 16, and then Man, I'm so sorry. I'm starting to lose my train of thought here. Oh, you go ahead and you take the fight with the number 12 guy. And then you are set to fight him. And then this is where you're starting to get more noticed. This is where you're like, okay, this guy just came off of winning the Ultimate Fighter. Then he also just came off of destroying his next opponent. And then you go ahead and you start to face the next guy, and you end up beating him. I don't know, somewhere on the prelims, I'm assuming, is where that fight would take place. Maybe like the main event of the prelims, because you got like a lot of hype from that last win, and he's number 12, so that's actually a good like main event for the prelims, in all honesty. So rank number 16, technically, like in real life, that's unranked because there's only top 15. Taking on the number 12 guy, and then you got that as the main event of the prelims. And then let's say you win that fight, and immediately after the fight, that's when you get your in-ring interview. If that's how they're doing it, I don't know if they're doing in-ring interviews because they confirmed, you know, Megan O'Leary confirmed that she's going to be in the game. But it's like, it's hard for me to like say how I would do this because with Megan O'Leary in the game, I don't know if they're, let's say they do have both. Let's just, for the sake of this, let's say they do have both. And right after that win, you destroy the guy. You destroy the guy, and like again, it's like, let's say you beat him in 2 minutes. You rocked him a couple times. You really hurt him. You knocked him down. You end up choking him out with a guillotine. But I don't know. Just a hypothetical scenario there. Let's say that happens. Then you go ahead and get an interview with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan talks to you and says, how are you feeling after that fight? Or something, like something simple like that. Like, so, how did you feel about the finish? What were you thinking the whole time? And then it gives you a couple options. Like, it's kind of like a flashback to UFC Undisputed 2010, where you get a couple things, and it'll be like, you can say this. It'll give you like the dialogue of what you want to say. Like, it'll pause time, and you'll be able to like see your choices. And one will be like, you could be neutral and say like, you know, it's just another fight. I did what I needed to do. Basically, that could be one. And you could have like a positive one. It would be like, oh, this guy's a warrior. I'm glad that I was able to catch him early and I was able to get the finish, or something like that. And then you could do a disrespectful one and be like, yeah, this guy was nothing. I knew I was going to destroy him when I came into the octagon. You could take, you know, take the bad guy route, quote unquote, you know, like Chael Sonnen or Conor McGregor route, and talk a lot of trash. And then the follow-up question, Joe Rogan would be like, what's next for you? Who do you want to fight next? Or, you know, something like that. Like, just do a quick 2 or 3 stage interview. However, you'd want to do it there. Like a 2 or 3 stage interview. But for the sake of this, I couldn't think of a 3-stager at the time. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's like a 2-stager. So the first one, like I just said, I just explained the first stage. And then the second stage could be something like, you know, what's next for you? Who do you want to fight? And then you could say, you could be like a neutral thing, where you could say, you know, whoever the UFC wants to give me, I'm ready to fight anytime. Boom, done. Or you could do the respectful route and say, I want to fight somebody, I want to fight, and then you could be like, you could like take the rankings and you could choose anybody on the roster in that weight class. And you can say, I want to fight this guy next. But be respectful about it. So let's say you just beat the rank number 12 guy, you're number 16. You're probably going to go to rank number 14 to 13, like number 13. Or you could be like, I want to respectfully say you're in the middleweight division, like I was explaining earlier. I want to fight the rank number 10 guy, whoever that may be right now. I don't have my phone on. I don't have my phone near me over there. It's all the way over there on the other side of my room. But I want to fight the number 10 guy. I think he's like really good. I think we'd be a good matchup. I think it'd be a fun fight, or, you know, stuff like that. Don't be an asshole about it, basically. Or you could totally be an asshole. The third option, being disrespectful and be all like, I want to fight the number 10 dude. He's I know I'm ready for that level of a fight. I can destroy him. He doesn't match up well against me. I know I could beat him. Easy money, stuff like that, or whatever. I think that'd be like really cool to do. And based on your performance and based on your ranking, I'd say on the UFC could I talked about this exact scenario in one of my previous videos. I think it was in the producer thing where I talked about EA bringing in a new producer, where it could either show you or not, whatever. There would be like a percentage of a chance of your call out actually working. So let's say, again, you're number 16, you beat the number 12 guy. Presumably you're going to be ranked to number 13 once the rankings get updated. Calling out the number 10 guy isn't ridiculous. So there should be like a decent percentage of that working. And especially with a performance like that, I'd say the UFC would give you like a 92% chance of that happening. I don't know. Just throwing out a number there. Like a 92% chance that the UFC will agree on that. Then you can go like in the negotiations and be like, okay, we thought about your request and here it is. And then they could either say like, no, we're not looking into that right now. Or the other fighter isn't looking into that right now. Or they could so just straight up say like, yeah, you know what? We're going to make that fight happen. And this is when it's going to happen. I would also like an actual calendar. That's something that's really important to me in the career mode, because I love that about, was it 2009? I think 2010 did it as well. Yeah, 2009 and 2010 did it, from what I remember. There's an actual calendar, so it like made sense. And you fought like you fought a couple times a year. And so you could actually see like when you're fighting, have it realistic, because like in UFC Undisputed 3, you were like 10 years into your career, and it's just you're like 10 years into your career almost, and now it's just then getting to UFC 205. If that were realistic, then that means UFC 205, which in real life happened in, what was it, November? It was something like that. It was like November, I believe. But in real life, that would have happened in 2022. You see what I mean? Like, it just didn't make any sense. So I would act like an actual calendar, and then you could take like your short notice fights, and it'd be like, oh, you have to fight in 6 weeks. You have this much time to prepare, and that's what made the training process a lot more enjoyable. In, I believe it was 2008, in 2009, and everything. So you actually had to like schedule your training and everything correctly, and that's awesome. And you actually got to go to different gyms every once in a while and everything, and that was fucking great. I love that. Like, that's something like I literally just thought of at the top of my head. Like, I didn't even think about that before I made this video. That's something that I think would be absolutely awesome. I know this is a lengthy video, but please, I think this is a video that's worth putting out. So I appreciate all of you that have stuck around this far. Yeah, I just think that would be like a really, really cool thing to put in here. Into the career mode for EA Sports UFC 3. Now, again, you just let's say you just keep doing well. You just keep doing really, really good in the career. You beat the number 10 guy as Rick number 13. You guys have a fight of the night. Let's say you ended up knocking him out in the 3rd round. You both ended up just doing crazy. You both ended up doing really good. It was fight of the night. Ends up winning fight of the year or something. Like, it's just a crazy good fight. The UFC ends up saying like, yo, you did amazing. You got a great win. You showed that you showed your resiliency. You showed a lot of heart and everything. And that sometimes is something they like more than just seeing a big dominant finish. Sometimes like you put on an amazing fight. You got a $50,000 bonus out of it. A $50,000 bonus. That doesn't go unnoticed. So then you talk to Joe again. And he says, you know, how'd you think? He says, who do you want to fight next? Who's next for you? What's next for your career? And this is where it gets like, yo, you ended up destroying somebody after winning the Ultimate Fighter 2-0. Then you ended up destroying a ranked guy that's farther up the ranks than you. You destroyed him in like 2 minutes, ended up submitting him. That's 3-0. And then you got like a fight of the night victory with a finish in the 3rd round. Let's say like kicking off the pay-per-view or something like that. And then this is where it gets to the point where you can call out somebody, and you might want to start getting a little more extreme here because your popularity is rising after those fights, no matter what you're saying. Though what you're saying could help you, whether it's respectful, whether it's disrespectful, whether it's neutral. Different fighters will have like their different personalities. In the game, I think that would be really cool. Is that they have a set personality. Like if you're talking about like Conor McGregor, he can have a very arrogant, very disrespectful personality. Whereas you know someone like Doo Ho Choi, who's just super nice, super respectful. He has nothing bad to say about anybody. And if you say something respectful about him, he's probably going to say something respectful about you. And if you say anything to Conor McGregor, he's just going to be just respectful to you, basically, for the most part. It's how he brings in money. And different fighters will react differently to your call-outs depending on how you call them out or just how you're acting. Sometimes, let's say, fighters want to call you out. I believe there was something like that in 2009, 2010 where fighters could call you out and you could either accept or deny. I believe that was an actual thing. I can't honestly remember very well on that. But I think that'd be really cool. So let's say you, at number 10, you know, you just beat the number 10 guy, and if somebody calls you out, let's say either Joe or Megan O'Leary, I still got to get Megan O'Leary down, how her interviews would go. But Joe Rogan says, like, hey, we heard that, I know you're in the middleweight division, Chris Weidman called you out. And at the time, let's say he's like ranked number 5. Chris Weidman called you out and said he wants to stop that height train. He really wants that fight. He thinks that he matches up well against you. And the neutral way, like Chris Weidman was saying that neutral, like he thinks that it's going to be a fun fight. He thinks that he will be able to beat you. How do you feel about that? And you can either again go the neutral way and just be all like, I think it'd be a good fight. You could be like neutral, agree or disagree, like agree to the fight or something like that, or respectful or disrespectful. And you could be all like, you know, well, I just have to see what this UFC says. That's probably what the neutral thing would be. Be like, oh, we'll see what the UFC says about that one. Or then a respectful one would be like, yeah, I think Chris is awesome. I think that'd be a great matchup, and you know, I really hope that happens. Or disrespectful and be like, hey, you know, he thinks he can beat me. Well, he's wrong because I'm the best in the world. I can absolutely destroy the former champion, Chris Weidman, or some shit like that. And then there could be like an agree and disagree type of thing where you could be all like, respectful agree would be, I don't know, something along the lines like, or, well, disrespectful, I'm sorry, I just did the respectful ones. Disrespectful would be something like, yeah, I'm totally ready to destroy. Honestly, I forgot what I just said. I'm all over the place, guys. I'm very sorry. You could go ahead and just do a respectful agree, disrespectful agree, disrespectful disagree, and respectful disagree. And then there's a neutral one where it kind of just says, hey, UFC can decide on how that goes. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm doing this without a script, in case you couldn't tell. I don't do scripts. That's not something I'm into. Not that there's anything wrong against that. It's just not my thing. But, you know, after all that, you can just go about it however you want. That's my main thing here, is that you go throughout your career the way you want to go throughout your career. And let's say there's also press conferences where you take questions from the fans and stuff, or not fans, but the media. Have Mike Bone in the game. Fuck yeah, man. He'll be asking you questions or whatever. And then Megan O'Leary backstage will ask you questions. kind of like the same shit Joe would ask you, in all honesty. Just maybe elaborate a little more because you have more time outside the octagon than you do in to talk about it. I just hope EA doesn't drop the ball on this because this could be something that's amazing. But, you know, you win the title, you could career with your performances and the way you talk. Get your fights by talking and backing that talk up. And that's also something, is that if you're talking a lot of shit, like if you're like McGregor and be like, oh, I'm going to kill this guy, I'm going to destroy him in a minute or whatever, and then you end up getting knocked out, you're just going to lose like a lot of credibility, I'll say. That's how that should go, is that if you talk very disrespectful against a fighter, you talk very disrespectful against Chris Weidman when he called you out, and be like, hey, I can destroy this bum, he's ranked number 5, but he's not ranked number 5 material or something. And when you go and fight and he just goes in and takes you down and destroys you for 3 rounds and ends up submitting you in the 3rd round or something like that, or the rear naked choke, it's like, yo, you talked all that shit, but you got destroyed that whole fight. What's up with that? Yeah, it could totally go something like that. And then when you want to call out somebody after that, UFC's kind of be like, nah, you good. And you're going to fight somebody that's lower ranked than you probably. So that's like the whole point of this, is choices, choices, choices. Let us choose what we want to do. And then again, like, change weight classes anytime. When you're the champion, you can request like, hey, I want to do a super fight, I want to fight that champion. You're the middleweight champion, I want to fight Daniel Cormier, I want to fight him for the light heavyweight title, or, you know, something along those lines. I think that would be great. I think that would be absolutely spectacular. And then you could also say like, hey, after, let's say you win. Actually, let's elaborate on that a little bit. If you're the middleweight champion and you beat the light heavyweight champion and you win, you could either choose to keep the light heavyweight title or keep the middleweight title. You can't keep both titles. There's no way somebody could do that. They wouldn't even let Conor do that in real life. So you either keep the middleweight title or keep the light heavyweight title, but you win both, and you have to vacate the one or the other. So let's just say, hey, I don't want to stay in light heavyweight. Go ahead and drop the light heavyweight title and stay in the middleweight division after that. And then you can end up doing the same to the welterweight division eventually. Or maybe even right after, be like, hey, I want to go out to the welterweight title. Like now. And you can go ahead and beat Tyron Woodley for it. I hate Tyron Woodley, so that's probably who I'd go after first. And then you could choose to stay in welterweight if you win that title, or you can stay in middleweight. I mean, the choice is yours. That's what it should be. It's everything. Or you could just be champion in the middleweight division, defend the title for like 3 times, and or some, I don't know, defend the title not at all, and just say like, you know what, I don't want to stay in this weight class anymore. Boom, just drop to welterweight or go out to middle or go out to light heavyweight, and then you'll be at like, you'll be given like a top contender because you're the champion from another weight class. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. I think that they should bring in Dr. Stoppages. They specifically said they didn't want to do that in this franchise, as they did not want to bring in Dr. Stoppages like THQ did. And that's the simple fact that, like, they think I believe I read the article. I definitely did read the article, but I believe it said something that, you know, someone from EA ended up saying, we don't want people getting angry like in an online fight or something where, you know, they lose a fight because their fighter got cut up, and that's the reason they lost the fight. And, you know, I can totally understand it from that perspective. I personally just would like the Dr. Stoppages, I think. But again, that's something that's, you know, what if EA drops the ball on that and fucks up and makes that happen way too often, like they did with the flash knockouts in the first game. Now it doesn't happen at all. Like, it's 1 in a million basically to get a flash knockout in this game. In the first EA Sports UFC, you could do it like half the fucking time, which was a problem. It just happened way too much in the first game. It doesn't happen. So that's like that's a huge problem there. So basically that's basically it for the most part. there might have been like a weird cutoff for you guys in this video because I lost a tad of footage, so I'm trying to fill it in right here. Yeah, it's just, again, just I want free will. I want to be able to choose everything that I do in my career. I want to be able to choose and just try to get the fights that I want to get in my career and everything, and be able to call out whoever I want, whether I'm going to get it or not. And then I'd say also the other fighter influences that decision, and they say like, hey, yeah, I really want to fight this guy too. And that would then boost up the UFC's percentage on letting that fight happen. You know, stuff like that. You know, I'm just hoping that you guys are in agreement on most of this, at least, because I think these are just about all good ideas. You know, I hope they do training different. Training's honestly not that bad. I don't think the training's too bad in this game. I like how EA did it so that you can just train the thing once and then you could always just do auto for the rest of it. I think that's a great thing there. And then you can also get injured. That's also something real quick before I end the video. Injuries are awful in this game. They're nowhere near what I thought they were going to be. You can't actually get injured. You just get negs to fighting, which that makes sense, but honestly it should be way different how that works. So when you get hurt, let's say they have to be like specific injuries, otherwise it's just stupid, like how it is in this game. Let's say you're training and you break your right hand. So basically every time you use your right hand for something, for like punching or, you know, anything, like just, yeah, it basically just be like your punch speed, your punch power, and maybe like a couple next to your overall grappling and stuff if you were cleared to fight still, because, you know, you have to use both hands for like lifting up somebody or, you know, certain stuff like that. It just, depending on what you damage, it depends, you know, it'll affect a lot of your game because you're going into the fight hurt. Whereas game, it just randomly says like, oh, you trained in stand-up leg power, and then all of a sudden it just says like, oh, you lose 10 in movements and 5 in stamina or something. It's like, what? Like, why though? Like, what did I hurt? And you could be training like this. Like, if I was training, I've done it before where I'm training and I'm just beating the crap out of the guy in the clinch. I was in the clinch, and it was one of the I can't remember which. It was the clinch control, I guess. Yeah, it had to be clinch control. And I was in the tie clinch, and I was just kneeing him almost the entire time. My guy was tired, but he kept going, and the guy like never hit me, as far as I can remember. It's like, if he did, it was barely. And then all of a sudden, I was taking a whole bunch of negs to like, my takedown defense was like -15 or something like that, and then clinch control was like -10 or something. And I was like, what? Like, I dominated that drill, and on top of that, I beat the hell out of the guy and took no damage, basically. So it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. So I really hope they fix that up. I would kind of like some cinematics in Ultimate Fighter where once you go to the Ultimate Fighter, they have that thing where, like, you know how like fighters are looking into the camera, they're like in a dark room, the camera, and there's a light on them and everything, and they're just like talking about whatever. You could kind of like fill in some stuff there, just make it a little more interesting. Start some character building. Even though that's not really needed in a UFC video game, it's, you know, this is a game where you just go in there and you kick ass. But, you know, it could be something much more than that, is my point. Is it can be just more than go in there and fight. And I really hope they pick me up. I really hope EA picks me up. Like I said, as long as they can pay for my my flight, my living situation, basically, to come out there. They don't have to pay me money specifically. They just say like, hey, we want to invite you out. We'll take care of your flight. We'll take care of your hotel. And your necessities. And that's it. And then, because that's what they do. That's what them and 2K do for their their game changers, is they go ahead and say like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and take care of everything for you. We just want you to come out and test out the game and help us make it. Like, fuck yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Like, I would totally do that. You don't need to pay like any extra money for anything. I don't know how that goes. You guys don't have to promote me or anything. Like 2K definitely promotes their guys. Like you see on Twitter, they're like, oh, look at Dan Gobb's new video, or Tony Pizza Guy's new video, or you know, check out the stream that Tubby Emu's doing or something, you know. But they could totally fucking EA could do that with their guys too, but I mean, like, I don't care about that. Like, obviously that would be a huge plus. Like, I would love to get promoted by EA, but that's not something that I'll be like, hey, I need you to do this for me. No, just I want to help you make the best game possible. Use my ideas and just make the best game possible. That's what I want. It's all I want. I want the best UFC video game possible. I would love for that to happen with 2K as well. Like, I would love to get a part of the 2K experience for the WWE games, but honestly, that doesn't look like it's ever going to happen. But with EA, it might, because like, on a regular basis, I've talked to like 4 of the devs at EA Sports UFC. Specifically, there's one that I talk to a lot, and I still do talk to every once in a while, is Jazz. So I would absolutely love to just come out and do that. There's nothing special you have to do for me. Just let me come out and help you make that game. That's what I want to do. Well, I hope you guys ended up enjoying this video. I hope you guys have something to say in the comments. I would definitely like to know what your thoughts are. If there's specific things you want to talk about, just make sure you jot down like some... I probably should have said it towards the beginning of the video. Jot down some specific topics you want to talk about in the comments, and we'll talk about them, basically. Like, comment, subscribe. Reach out to EA. Let them know this is the guy. This is the guy that you want to be a game changer. Spread it everywhere. Monster Shark Gaming, Austin, Schrothinator. I'm Schrothinator on Twitter still. Everywhere else, basically, I'm Monster Shark Gaming. Just get it out there. Tag me and Jazz and Brian Hayes, Jeff Harrower, Jeremy Mathewson, the EA Sports UFC Twitter, EA Twitter, whatever. Let them know. Tag me in it as well. Say like, hey, we want this guy in there. If you agree with me, I'm not saying like, hey, fucking 1940s Germany, Hitler, do that for me or else. No, just if you guys believe in me, do that. If you would be so kind. That's all I'm asking. Is just help me, help them to give you and me the best game possible. That's all I'm asking. So again, like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.